Hey everyone, in this video we're going to go over some of the basics of the command line, including moving around the file system and listing out files and folders. When you first log in, you notice here, you see your username, @hostname, colon, talk about the tilde later, then $sign, along with your cursor. And where we're at here is the command shell, or the command interpreter. I'll be using bash. We'll talk about the details of different types of shells in the future, but for now, just know that we're using bash. Also, before we move on, I just want to go back to the prompt here and point out that that may vary based on the distribution, what you see out of the box, and it is highly customizable, and that's something we'll look at in a future video. Okay, so when we first log in, we start out in our home directory typically. So if you run the pwd command, print working directory, you'll see the directory you're currently in, home/x80nix. This is typical for most users, though there are some exceptions to this, and we'll cover details in that later on. But most users will have a folder in the home directory that matches their username. And you'll notice here the structure of the path that we printed, /home/x80nix. So we have the slash, and that's the root of our drive, followed by the next folder in the path, home, and slash to separate the next folder in the path, x80nix. So now that we know where we're at, let's try listing out the contents of the directory we're in. Do that with the ls command. You can see the files and folders of our home directory here. We can also list out the contents of directories we're not within, such as root and home. You just have to remember that file and folder names in Linux are case sensitive. So home with an lowercase h is different than home with an uppercase h. Okay, so moving on, now we're going to take a look at absolute and relative paths. So I'm going to go ahead and clear our console here. You do that by just typing clear. The absolute path is a path that is the actual full path, such as /home/x80nix. Relative path would be like looking at downloads here. Relative to our location where we're at, we actually go into document. We try to list out download. We can't find it because it's no longer relative to our location. So as a trick, we can get back into our home directory here as just typing cd. cd without any arguments will actually take you right into your home directory. So I'm going to clear our screen again, and you can type clear, or there is a shortcut. You can actually press Control and L to clear your screen. So I also just wanted to mention that you're seeing the directories here in blue with color. That is actually part of the ls command. And it's actually an alias in this case, where it's just included. So as an example, if we switch to root, and I'll go over this stuff in a later video, as far as changing to root and running commands as root, we actually list out a directory here. You don't actually see any color here. That's because we'd have to run the ls command with the color argument. So an alias that's created for us as part of the default when our account is created actually adds that automatically for us. And that's part of our bash RC file. And that loads some settings for us automatically. You put aliases in there. That also controls the customization of our prompt there. That's something we'll get into in a later video. I'm going to go ahead and exit root, put my screen up. I want to show some variations of the ls command. So if we run ls-l, we actually get a long listing of the directory we list out. And we have a few things here we can check out, such as total. That is actually the total size of the items here. It is not including the actual contents of these folders, just the folders themselves. So that's one thing to keep in mind when looking at this number. Also, if you check here, we actually see D in front of some of these here. And then we don't see it here because this is a file and these are folders. So this is indicating that it's a directory. And then we have some other information here, such as the permissions. This is something we'll look at in a later video. And then we also have the owner and the group owner of the file or folder. And then we have a timestamp of the last write as well as the size. We also have the option to show all. And in here, you'll notice that we have folders as well as files that start with a dot. It actually means these are hidden. And so the A argument lists all. You also see a couple of special items in here, the dot and dot dot. What these are actually shortcuts to two different things. ls dot is the current directory, and then ls dot dot is the parent, or one level up. So if we ls dot dot slash dot dot, we're actually listing out root because we're going 2 levels up. There's one more item I wanted to come back to. I mentioned the tilde earlier, and that is actually a shortcut for home. So we can actually change directory to root here. And then if we list out downloads, can omit home and our user home folder name. And also we can list out with -A. That will exclude the special dot and dot dot items. And one final thing here. Also, if we do an ls-d, we can list out the properties of the directory itself. We need an L in there. Let's go ahead and just list out home. And then we get the properties of the home directory instead of listing out the contents of the directory. And one final thing here is the tree command. Tree command will actually list out a directory structure for you. And just one handy argument to it here, and we'll go to root for this. We can actually do a tree-l for level and just do 1 level deep. And then we get some directory structure there. And I'm going to end it here. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And thanks for watching.